Greetings. Um, I am an enormous pain flare and I cannot do anything about it, including eat, because this hand right here is not usable. My arms are in a lot of pain, both hands, but this one especially. This is the one that really got super jacked up when a doctor who doesn't know anything about fibromyalgia told me that I should be on Wellbutrin for fibromyalgia. Last year, 3 days later, I could no longer use this hand, and it's been in and out ever since. Um, I had a situation yesterday where um, I had been recovering on a number of levels, immune recovering and pain recovering for about a week, and was ready to, do a little more and planned very carefully around what more to do. And so I went into the city to um, do a little bit of workout. I was going to stay just on the track. It's cold here right now, so walking outside is not an option for me when my immune system is low. So I drove the hour to the track, and because I was feeling better, I held some very light hand weights while I was going around the track. And then because I'm carrying so much extra weight right now because of this stupid Wellbutrin, which now has 10 extra pounds on my little tiny body. I did some Pilates to try to kind of target some of that ab area, and because you just should do Pilates, and you never want to do it in a class because they bark at you all the time. So I did those things knowing that there would need to be recovery time and support if I did them. So what I did first was I went to my dentist and I used the biomodulator and transducer on both my hands specifically, and on my gut specifically, and but also you're supposed to do some other things first that are not targeted, that are full constitutional health types of pieces of the protocol. So I did that, but I was sure to do it just in a little bit of time rather than the much longer times I've done it in the past. I started at 2 hours, and then I went down to about an hour, and then about 45 minutes. And yesterday I did 30 minutes to try to reduce the level of kind of post treatment fatigue that I was having, or post treatment kind of neuropathic little bits. You're supposed to be doing it every day, and I can only get there once to maybe twice a week. And with the holidays, they weren't open, and so I knew there was going to have to be some slow on ramping back into that treatment. But because I was having such severe other issues, I definitely needed to get back there. So I did those things. You're setting the table to make sure that you're getting through all of the pieces you need to set that recovery table. And then I got home 6 hours later or something, and came home to a note from a city ordinance person, who ironically was letting me know that I was in violation for putting boxes out by my curb that I thought bulk trash picks up, that I have recently found out we don't even have bulk trash. I mean, how ghetto a town do you have to live in to not even have bulk trash? And I've been asking for 2 years for them to address issues like, hey, when your trash people come, they don't make sure that trash doesn't end up in the street. They don't make sure that bins don't end up in the street, and people drive by fast. It's dangerous. They've done nothing about this. They've done nothing about any time that my trash hasn't been picked up. As a disabled person, even though they say that I'm signed up for disability pickup, and so it's a whole thing. And there's a big paper trail about it. And they made the mistake a few months ago um, of meaning to email each other, but actually copying me and, and really talking trash about me. So, you just love it when people make that mistake. It just is kind of delicious. But anyway, um, also infuriating, and really just, I don't know, it just pulls up a lot of shame, about these people that we're supposed to be within like the societal machine that we can't possibly be. But anyway, so there is a good paper trail behind it that indicates that I am waiting on them for the past month, not the other way around. But I had also, thankfully, I happened to write to them about a week ago and say, hey, I haven't heard from you. And so what I've done is put the trash can right by the boxes, and I will refill the trash can with the boxes to the degree that it will fill it up every time until we get this out of the way. And of course, I got no response. So, but this officer knows nothing about that. And so I had to write to him instead of resting my hands last night. I had to write to him, and of course I had to be diplomatic and kind and organized and do it all businessy, and that was an enormous amount of pressure on my hands. And I told him, like, this is an example of the disability discrimination that the city has continued to disregard. That when I say I have neuropathy and arthritic symptoms, and I cannot keep repeating myself in a typed format, um, but I keep having to do that, that constitutes ongoing discrimination and failure to accommodate reasonably. But I said, I'll call you tomorrow, as long as my pain has not escalated further. I was in emergency treatment today. So then we get to 30 minutes later, and a woman calls me who I didn't know before, but who was connected to me through another mutual contact. And she needed some help figuring out about the EMF situation in our area. She was new to the area and has a lot of sensitivity. And turns out she has a lot more sensitivity than I do. And, she's a very true Wi-Fi refugee. Can't find a place to be because there's so many towers everywhere and they all hurt her. And at this point, she's homeless. And so she called and happened to be nearby, and I was like, hey, well, do you want to come by and visit for a little bit? And I was thinking I'd go to bed about an hour later, and 8 hours later, we had just discovered, she needed a lot of support, and she also didn't know a lot of things that if you're homeless, you need to know about, and if you're disabled, you need to know about, in order to get what you need. And so we went through a lot of those things, and I made a cheat sheet for her and stuff. And because she's so sensitive, I mean, she couldn't even be around my computer being on, or even my computer in the room off. And so you can imagine, like, her trying to research online is not really a thing that can happen very well. So what I did as part of, just making sure that she didn't get into more discomfort, my Total Shield, my Schumann machine, the Schumann resonance is the native frequency of the earth. And the machine that I use, that it's called a shield, and a lot of things are called shields that are not. But this is a big part of managing my fibromyalgia. When I'm in the city, my fibromyalgia is about a stage 6, full crippling, wheelchair, the whole 9 yards, severe pain all the time. Out here, I would say around a 2 usually. Not today, but today it's a good 4. but it's generally, if I'm not flaring a lot, it tends to be around a stage 2. And the reason is because I don't have Wi-Fi in my home. I don't have a cell phone that has any service to it. I get out to a fully radiation-free zone every single day, and if I don't, I really know it. And I use this. This is the Total Shield. You can get it a few different ways. This up here is an optional thing to put on it that is for the 5G particular resonance to I don't know, battle it or neutralize it or whatever. I would say it does not, like, my house is not, We didn't feel like I want it to feel, but it feels a hell of a lot better than everywhere else. This keeps running when it's not plugged in. I've just unplugged it so you can see it. It's got 3 lights on the top. The red one is for if you want to set it just to combat electromagnetic frequency EMF, which is, as I also refer to in groups, as radiation sensitivity or radiation poisoning. And what that is, the Wi-Fi and cell types of 3 to 5G types of frequencies. The green is geopathic sensitivity. It turns out this is a bigger sensitivity for me here, which I didn't know until I got this machine. But the geopathic would mean like if you were above an old quarry, or if there's active lots of minerals where you are or something like that, and lots of concentration of certain minerals, or if you're living above an aquifer and there's a lot going on beneath you. I happen to live in a place that's an old iron quarry area. Didn't know that when I moved here, but tornadoes just go around us because our frequency around here is just like, nope, no thanks, for them. So, and then the yellow is when it goes for both. It goes back and forth between the two of them. But most things in this arena, they call themselves shields, but they're not shields. They're diluters. They're frequency diluters. So what this does is blasts the Schumann resonance, which I believe is 7.83 megahertz, maybe, around. And you can buy 1 to 4 Tesla cores in here. I have 4. 4 is the most you can buy. I have 4. It was way too strong for me when I bought it, but we hadn't apparently turned on 5G in my area yet. And so it actually wasn't calibrated right for my area, I think because of this. So it didn't help me at first. It actually exacerbated some of my symptoms. But the day that we flipped the switch in this area and turned on all the 5G, and I was screaming in pain for 3 days, afterwards I thought, oh, let me plug this in and see what happens. Works great for me. But I already had time to calibrate to this as well. Well, my new friend last night did not have that time, right? She was just coming in straight out at the gate. So this did not agree with her at all. I turned it off, even though it does keep vibrating. And I mean, I carry it into the city with me at this point. I take it to the gym, or I wouldn't be able to do those long trips. But she could not have this on. It was really painful for her every time we turned it on. So even at the other side of the house. And when you have 4 cores, it's supposed to cover about 20,000 feet out. I would say it doesn't for me, do that. But because my hand is no longer working now, because I had to turn this off, and this was so essential for me to have on last night because I had pushed my hand, right? Partly I had gone to treatment, and then partly I had done some new exercise, which I would never ever do either of those things if I knew that I was coming home and not having this on, because this is not a Wi-Fi safe place, because everybody around me has Wi-Fi. So for anybody who needs this, this is it. I get it from Brimhall in Canada. Other places do sell it, but sometimes for more expensive. The Canada people are easy to deal with. I've never dealt with a company in Canada that wasn't easy to deal with. I'm sure there are some, but anyway, Brimhall has been nice to deal with on it. This is very much a, you figure it out as you go. I learned about this because of my dentist has one by his x-ray machine, and I go to the hygienist whose room is right behind that wall. And I always feel really good when I leave that room, despite there being all this radiation there. And so that's how I found out about this and started putting the pieces together that this might be a good fit for me. I'm going to turn this back on now. And oh my God, my hands. Oh my God, my hands. Ah, dang it. So, and I usually keep this. It's definitely recommended not to have it closer than 3 feet from you. But last night, because of the flare, because of not having it on when I needed it on, By the time my new friend left, which is about 1 o'clock, I was in really severe pain pretty quick after that. When you're around people, if you're having pain, it means you're really in trouble because being around people as mammals creates dopamine, and releases dopamine for you, and so it's an anesthetic. I just experienced that on the phone a little while ago with someone, where my pain lifted for a little while because I was talking to a person. Well, as soon as she left, last night, and dopamine is what you get a big hit of when you're on cocaine. Okay, so when you're trying to think, why can't I come down after this club because I've been up late, or had a fun date and it's now 11 o'clock and now I can't go to sleep. Well, because the dopamine hit is real. So I I turned that on. It's actually right beside my bed now, and I didn't know if my body would like that or not, or hate it, but it's just trying to soak it up. It's really, my body is hurting really bad. So, and that's actually why I'm making this video, because I literally can't do anything else. I can't go eat. I bought groceries yesterday. I was excited. I had good food that is what my body needs and that would be manageable to make. And now I can't make anything. And now all that shit's going to rot. And that makes me really sad. What I do have, though, just to give you an idea of, what a flare is, when people are talking about a flare, that's language I didn't particularly know until I joined a lot of, research communities and so forth. But I know what pain is. They're just talking about pain or inflammation that they're noticing. I don't know. Yeah, you can see the difference here. So this hand is not in pain right now. This hand is. You can see I have mobility in this one. This is the only thing this one's going to do for you. This is the position. Okay. Can't do anything else. The coloring is different. The coloring in reality is quite different. This is very red. You see there's a different shape to the hand and so forth. And this one can move around and stuff. So, but one of the things that I do, and I see in a lot of groups that a lot of people actually still don't know about diet on these things. So I'll mention it here. If you can get some convenience food that is clean, that would be great. This is as close as I can get in the middle states. If I were on the coast, I could do a lot better on this. But I did manage to get some of this yesterday. It's just a green rice wrap. It's like a rice paper wrap with real thin avocado around it, and then inside they put different stuff. Let's see, today it looks like there's some kind of green lettuce today, it looks like, and carrots. And then they usually put a little bit of avocado and a little bit of ginger, like pickled ginger in it. And then it comes with a little peanut dipping sauce. You can use that if you want, but I find I'm needing to come down from the fat amount in my diet right now. So I don't use that part, and it's pretty sugary. But this is all I can eat today. It probably only has 100 calories in it. That and I just drank some organic coconut water. A lot of people who have fibromyalgia also have electrolyte imbalance. Coconut water is really the only natural item that's readily available that you don't have to like mix yourself. That has pretty much an optimal electrolyte balance. And unless you have serious dysautonomia that's related to your electrolyte balance, in which case people are often prescribed very high amounts of sodium, like 5 grams a day, kind of craziness. I know that's a real thing for some people. For me, as a person who's EMF sensitive, EMF degrades ATP and tears it apart the same way that sodium does. And it amplifies that impact. And so I really can't have a lot of that. I'm less sodium sensitive out here than I am in the city, but I'm not going to be a 5 gram of sodium a day salt lick person for sure. So this is just a reminder that having some clean food is helpful. But of course, you just need plain old calories too. And that's something that I can't accommodate right now because I can't move my arm. I can't cut with my left hand. I shouldn't use a sharp knife with my left hand. So it is what it is. I will say that I opted to start my chelation again this morning because I was in so much pain, and I had briefly the presence of mind to remember that my pain is decreased when I'm chelating. I thought last night, being in so much pain, that I was going to have to put off starting chelation again. But this morning, because of the pain and because my eyes were hurting so much, and that's the mast cell activation syndrome kicking up, which the chelation really helps with for me. I thought, well, I don't want to get my eyes burning again. I don't want to get the food allergies going again. So I should start chelating again. So I've just started this. This is a 3 milligram dose from our living supplements people. You can't get a dose this small in the United States, so you have to order it. But this is the alpha lipoic acid that I've mentioned before, and if you want to look at the chelating videos, you can. So immediately, like under 10 minutes for sure, after taking this, my eyes were no longer burning. They're still a little bit watery and dry, kind of going back and forth a little bit. But my pain went down to like a 1 or a 2 level for about an hour and a half when I first started. This is an antioxidant, but you can't use it as just a standard antioxidant. Take whatever you want because it's a chelator. It moves mercury across the blood-brain barrier, which is great if you're taking it on a very specific schedule to keep it moving, to go grab it and then pull it back down out of the brain and then get it out of your body. But if you use this as a supplement, just as a supplement once a day or whatever, all you're going to do is mobilize mercury. So it's extremely dangerous just to do that, because since it crosses that barrier, all that will happen if you mobilize is you could end up with more mercury in your brain, which is not good. So this is nothing to mess around with. But for chelation purposes, this does help my fibromyalgia in the meantime, if I am chelating at the right level. Now you'll remember from my other video from my other chelation video recently, I did try a week or two ago a bigger dose that was 12.5 milligrams to just see what that would do. And I aborted that round about a day in because there were too many other things that my body was doing. What I don't know is if it was due to that or due to having been to the gym or due to I had been swimming and ended up getting ill. So I was like getting real stuffed up. But I had to swim later in the day when there was more shade and it's outdoor. It's a heated pool, but it's outdoors. Not a big problem in Texas in the winter, but it was cool enough that my body probably noticed and I've needed to recover from that. So since detox symptoms from chelation can be the same as like, oh, I'm getting a sinus infection, or oh, I'm detoxing too heavily or something like that. Because any number of things that I had done right then could have caused it, I needed to abort that round. So this time I'm starting smaller. My previous amount had been 1.5 milligrams, which didn't really do much of anything, and that's why I went up. So this time we're doing 3. Like I say, it's helped with the pain a little bit, but later in the day, it has not touched it at all. It has made me more calm. I think it gave me the presence of mind to think through, oh, okay, like, no, you can't prove you have pain, but you need to keep in touch with the city about this issue since you weren't able to call them, and I can't pick up those boxes at this point, and I'm probably not going to be able to for a few weeks. So I did dictate a note to the man and explained that, the pain had escalated. I've written to my doctor about it. I'll let you know as soon as she responds. And if she doesn't respond, I'll let you know something anyway by next Friday again. But I pointed out, not to be ugly, but I also pointed out to him, this is unfortunately why I have to ask to not need to retype things I've already typed, because typing that email is what put me into this flare. And I now have weeks of recovery and can't get done the exact thing that you want done. So I would say emotionally, when I'm on this, I have the presence of mind to make those types of rational decisions without it being a big tax on my body and without having a lot of shame attached to the situation. And now I feel like I can like kind of kind of leave it to the side and let it do its, let life happen with it. Whereas if I were not on this right now, I think I would still be very, very anxious and scared about that. Um, so that's some of the ways that we can deal with fibromyalgia. Everybody's different. Fibromyalgia is exceptionally under researched and underfunded, and my feeling is that it is probably the same thing as small fiber neuropathy. But because, and that's actually what this is diagnosed as. Thank goodness I had a doctor who managed to do that and managed to know how to test that. Not that I can get them to send me the test results, but anyway, but at least we have the diagnosis. My feeling is that they are the same condition. If you look historically at what fibromyalgia was called at other times in history, it sounds exactly like small fiber neuropathy to me. Sometimes you get things just like chronic fatigue syndrome is, in my view, the same exact thing as cortisol disorder or adrenal disorder. Um, I think the reason they have multiple names is because there's no centralized place where they're being brought together to discuss, and because those each of those conditions gets researched in a different subspecialty of medicine in the United States and in the West in English speaking spaces. Now, bear in mind, most of English speaking medical studies, only 20% of them get even published into spaces where um, uh, the doctors actually read, into Medline. And then on top of that, other language groups have had consistent building medical knowledge, a body of medical knowledge for thousands of years, whereas we really reconfigure ours every few years, and of course are only about 2.5 centuries old, all told anyway. So our ways are quite primitive, certainly, um I can't read Mandarin, and so I'm not going to be able to research Oriental medicine at all, even though it's 5 millennia old at least. So, but that gives you a little bit of sense of what a fibromyalgia flare can look like. If you saw me on the street, you might think that I look fine. Or if you've known me before and you know that my coloring has been very different in the past, and you knew that this is not acne. This is actually a symptom of cortisol disorder right here. And if you put me on steroids, this goes away immediately. But but nobody likes me on steroids apparently. So even though I'm awesome on steroids, so it's not a long-term solution though. So, but when you're seeing people, in handicap spots at the grocery store, etc., who don't look sick to you, just bear that in mind. And some of us have the presence of mind to not park in those spaces, even when we have the credential to do that, because it's a day when we can walk, or it's a day when we really need the walk. And so it's just, valuable to keep these things in mind, that we don't really know what other people have and are dealing with. And really the reason, normally I would just sort of suffer through the pain. But I had to think through today, because I'm accountable to this city person right now. I had to think through, well, how do I document something that I've been to the ER for this? They can do nothing. They can x-ray it, which does nothing because it's not a bone issue. It's a very crude place. They might as well just have a bunch of leeches in a bucket up there, and morphine. But I can't prove this. And because I can't, my doctor is excellent diagnostician and very empathic when you're with her, and like really brilliant, and really knows this space. She is impossible to reach except when you're with her. So Knowing that now, and it's not just her, it's the whole system is like that now. I don't know anyone who can reach their doctor. So when you have these acute issues and you have these very serious flares, you've got to figure out a different way to document it. And so I faxed the doctor, reported it again. I, wrote to the city officer again, and tried to thread that needle of, reminding him this is what I meant yesterday when I said, I can't email you and move those boxes, right? Like I can do one or the other, but if I email you, I'm going to have weeks of recovery time. This weekend was supposed to be lots of lead time to finish a half-page writing, at research for a half-page writing up for a conference paper that I thought whether I'm able to take a single class or not this semester, I could at least submit this paper. It's just a 5-page paper. It's not a big thing, but it would be something for me to work toward and something within my expertise. And now I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. A professor even helped me with the first draft kind of feedback and so forth. And right now, this is all I can do. I can't eat. I'm going to brush my teeth with this hand. I hope if I can figure out how to. The problem is brushing the teeth is a 2-hand affair, right? Like you have to hold it with this and then you got to like somehow get the toothpaste on there and stuff. So I don't know how I'm going to do it. But that's that. I would say just a note that, just a call out that when I've mentioned charcoal in the past, I cannot be on charcoal and this because charcoal is extremely intelligent and it will grab anything that your body is not supposed to use evolutionarily. Okay, so since this is a synthetic version of this antioxidant that I'm sure occurs in nature in some way, but that is not what this is. This is synthetic. It will grab this and take it out of my body. That's especially important and dangerous in this case because since this is a mercury mobilizer, I would then need to dose differently. If it's going to grab 2 of the milligrams, then I might need to take it more often or something. And I won't know to do that. So just note that I'm not taking the charcoal while I'm doing this. But what that also means is that I'm changing my chelation schedule from once a week, 3 days a week, and then 4 days off to do charcoal. Because charcoal takes about 36 hours to get out of the GI tract. I'm going to chelate about once every 2 weeks, and then so that I'll have a good solid week of charcoal as well, with some buffer days in there to make sure that there's no charcoal in my system when I take this. So that's how we stay safe. So I hope that's helpful. And I will, when I can type better, I will try to index this because I know we've ended up going through a good many tips and points, and I'll index this and put that in the description when I can type again. Thanks.